Have you ever thought about how self-pleasure changes as we get older? The truth is that masturbation can take on whole new meanings in our golden years, offering comfort, connection, and healing. But what happens when it goes from a healthy habit to something more complicated? In this video, we'll talk about the actual reality of masturbation in old age, from its empowering benefits to the emotional challenges that many people face. Stay with us until the end to learn how finding balance can have a profound effect on your health, both physically and emotionally. Click the bell to get all of our newest material. I want to know what you think about today's topic. If you like it, please leave a 1-star comment below. If you don't like it, please leave a 0. Your opinion is very important to me because it helps me make better videos that are related to your interests. Allow us to begin. Let's get to the bottom of the complicated and often misunderstood subject of pleasure in old age. We'll bust some myths and face the harsh truth about how this personal practice can change the lives of those who do it, both through its freeing joys and its more complicated emotional undertones. This conversation is meant to touch the hearts of adults, especially those who are going through the deep changes that come with getting older. Masturbation is more than just a physical act. It's an exploration of one's deepest desires and a place of self-connection that can soothe the mind, body, and soul. No matter what age, everyone has the ability to feel good physically while letting go of emotional tension. As we get older, though, this practice becomes more complicated because the body, which used to be very intense when young, starts to go through a lot of natural changes. During the golden years, hormone changes affect how sensitive the body is and how the rhythms of desire change. However, pleasure does not fade. It just gets more complex, personal, and deep for those in their golden years. Masturbation can become a close way for older people to reconnect deeply with their bodies as testosterone and estrogen levels drop. Sexual desire may not be as strong as it used to be, but it still exists and wants to be explored in deeper, more private ways. Self-stimulation becomes an empowering act of rediscovery, free from the often overwhelming expectations or pressures that intimacy and youth can bring. It is a place where one can reconnect with their body's needs and desires. Realizing that pleasure is still a real way to live your life, no matter what age, has huge physical and emotional benefits. Self-pleasure on a regular basis has many health benefits, especially for older adults, according to medical study. Physically, it keeps blood flowing to the genital area, which protects vital organs and keeps them from atrophying, which can happen when you don't use them enough. But perhaps even more importantly, the emotional and mental benefits are immeasurable. When you masturbate, your body releases endorphins, which are strong chemicals that make you feel good. They can take away feelings of stress, anxiety, and even sadness. Few activities can lift the spirit as much as this one can. As we get older, it serves as a reminder that we are still alive, still able to be joyful, and still worthy of great personal satisfaction. Masturbation is a way to honor the body's needs without shame, guilt, or societal judgment. It's based on the idea that the journey of pleasure continues in different but equally beautiful ways until the very end of life. When an older person masturbates, they don't just feel better for a moment. It has a deeper, longer-lasting effect on their overall health, especially when it comes to improving sleep quality. In the later stages of life, restful sleep becomes essential for maintaining physical and mental health, and the relaxation that follows self-pleasure can help to ease tension, allowing for a more peaceful night's rest. At first, I thought it would be a great way for older people to become more self-aware and compassionate toward themselves, giving them back a sense of control over their bodies that they may have felt was lost due to the effects of getting older. In a world where getting older often means feeling vulnerable, out of control, and even disconnected from one's own body, masturbation offers a way to regain some of that control. It's a chance to feel in tune with oneself and experience one's physical form as a source of comfort instead of disappointment. This renewed connection boosts self-esteem and helps people become more positive and accepting of their aging bodies, which can be very empowering. However, as with all enjoyable activities, there is a line that, if crossed, can turn this intimate practice from beneficial to potentially harmful. When masturbation becomes Excessive or compulsive, especially as a person ages, it can have physical and emotional effects that should not be ignored. When the genital nerves are physically overstimulated, they can become more sensitive. This may sound good at first, but it can lead to pain or a temporary loss of sensitivity over time. This hip sensitivity can create a frustrating cycle where people need more and more intense stimulation to get the same level of pleasure. One simple act of self-pleasure no longer gives the same level of satisfaction, leading to a growing sense of dissatisfaction and even anxiety. However, the most important effect of masturbating too much in old age is not physical, it's emotional. In my experience, many older adults use masturbation as a way to escape from the more painful feelings of loneliness, anxiety, or depression that come with getting older. Could make family dynamics worse, may shift, and many are left facing the isolating silence of life without the constant companionship of loved ones. In these moments, masturbation can offer a brief reprieve, give a way to temporarily push aside the ache of loneliness, but when it becomes the primary or sole source of comfort, it can deepen the emotional void, creating a vicious cycle of dependency that further isolates the individual. This emotional isolation can be especially dangerous for older adults as it often goes unnoticed. The more someone retreats into the solitary world of self-stimulation, the less likely they are to seek out meaningful, fulfilling connections with others. While masturbation and moderation can be a healthy part of one's sexual expression when it becomes a substitute for human interaction and emotional fulfillment, it can leave a person feeling more alone than ever, wrapped in a bubble of self-imposed isolation. In the end, like all things, balance is key. Masturbation can be a deeply rewarding and healing practice in old age offering. It can give you physical comfort, emotional connection, and a sense of power. But if you get too much of it, it can turn into a shadow of itself, leaving you feeling frustrated, alone, and emotionally dependent. The path to finding peace is unique to each person and needs openness, self-awareness, and most importantly, self-compassion instead of looking for love, support, or company. As an alternative to slowly pulling away from the world around them, some people may turn to self-stimulation. Masturbation can make people feel even more emotionally disconnected, which can lead to a strong sense of being alone. From a professional point of view, what do medical studies say about masturbation in old age? Masturbation is not inherently bad for you. In fact, it can be very good for your health. In moderation, it's fine, but like any activity, too much of it can have unintended effects that can affect both the body and the mind. A lot of research has been done on the effects of compulsive masturbation in older people, especially when it becomes their main way of releasing sexual or emotional stress. Overstimulation can make you physically and mentally tired. This fatigue can make it harder to keep up the energy and motivation you need to do important daily tasks. As we all know, staying active through exercise is especially important for older people. Mobility builds muscle and protects the heart. But too much masturbation can make you lose the motivation to work out, which can lead to a less active lifestyle that can be bad for your health as you get older, like a higher risk of heart disease, less flexibility, and loss of muscle tone. The first comment below lets me know that you are still watching this video with me. If you find these lessons helpful, please let me know. Besides the physical effects, another important thing to think about is how too much self-stimulation can affect relationships in later life. When many older people live alone and may use masturbation to meet their sexual needs. Those who are in relationships face additional complications in cases where a person is in a long-term partnership. Frequent or compulsive masturbation can gradually take the place of shared intimacy. This shift can create a growing emotional and physical distance between partners, replacing the deep connection and affection that once bonded them with an individual act that leaves little room for mutual pleasure. The result can be a relationship that feels disconnected, where one or both partners feel neglected or unsatisfied emotionally and physically. For those in this situation, finding a balance is essential. It is important to ensure that masturbation does not become a replacement for intimacy with a partner, but rather a complement to the shared connection. This can prevent it from becoming a barrier to the loving and intimate contact that keeps relationships strong and healthy, on an emotional and psychological level, excessive. Masturbation can also bring about a host of negative feelings, particularly for those who have been raised in environments where sexuality was considered taboo, shameful, or something to be hidden. Many older adults still hold these strong beliefs, which can cause them to struggle inside when they do self-stimulation. For these people, the pleasure they get from masturbation may be followed right away by feelings of guilt, shame, or remorse. This conflict between the need for pleasure and the deeply held belief that such actions are morally wrong can be very hard on their mental health and self-esteem. This ongoing inner struggle can make someone feel even more lonely and alone because they may feel stuck in a cycle of enjoying things and then judging themselves. Having to fight this battle can be hard on your mental health, causing anxiety, sadness, and a loss of self-worth. It's important to know that these feelings are normal, especially for people who grew up in more conservative or oppressive settings. However, facing these feelings head-on and working towards self-acceptance can be very freeing in the end. Masturbating in old age is not dangerous if done in moderation, and it can even be good for you in many ways, both physically and emotionally. When you rely too much on self-stimulation, it's important to keep these things in mind. Finding a healthy balance, especially for people who are in relationships, is important to make sure that masturbation is a positive part of your sexual and emotional health, and not a source of isolation or shame. As we get older, self-awareness and self-compassion become even more important for living a fulfilling, balanced life. In these situations, it is important to know that sexuality is still a beautiful and deeply positive part of being human, and it should never be weighed down by guilt or shame that isn't necessary. Even in old age, being able to connect with your body through sexual pleasure is normal and a good way to express yourself and let off steam. However, if masturbation becomes an emotional escape instead of meaningful human contact, it could be a sign of a deeper problem that needs to be addressed. In this case, it's important to get help. Getting emotional support in other ways, like therapy, counseling, or meeting with loved ones, can be very helpful. These connections can provide much-needed emotional nourishment that goes beyond the short-lived pleasure of self-stimulation. Many people worry about whether masturbating in old age has any long-term physical risks. This is why it's important to bust the persistent myths that have caused so much unnecessary stress for so many. Contrary to old beliefs, there is no credible medical evidence to suggest that masturbation damages sexual organs permanently or speeds up the aging process. In addition, it has been shown over and over that masturbation is not linked to major diseases like prostate cancer or sexual problems like erectile dysfunction or impotence. These lies only make people more afraid than they need to be, especially older people who may already feel insecure about how their bodies are changing. In moderation, still the best way to get the most out of masturbation without getting unpleasant side effects, as long as there are no long-term health risks. Excessive masturbation can still make you physically tired after a while. When people don't get enough rest or food, the release of energy can leave them feeling mentally and physically drained. Another effect of overindulging is a possible long-term drop in libido. The act of satisfying sexual desire can actually make someone less driven, which can lead to a feeling of dissatisfaction or frustration that builds over time. When done mindfully and in moderation, masturbation in old age has many physical and emotional benefits. On a physical level, it improves blood flow and keeps genital tissues flexible, which helps maintain sexual function. On an emotional level, it can be a very helpful way to deal with stress, anxiety, or loneliness, giving many people a chance to reconnect with their own body and feel good about their own vitality and self-worth. But as with everything else, balance is key. If masturbation starts to take over your life or becomes a crutch that gets in the way of other important things, you should think about what might be causing this urge. Is it loneliness, anxiety, or a lack of emotional connection? No matter what the reason is, these problems need to be fixed. Head on, looking for better ways to meet their physical and mental needs. Hobbies, social contacts, or physical activities like yoga or walking can help you get your pleasure and health back in balance. In conclusion, Masturbation is a normal and healthy thing to do as you get older, but it's important to know when it's getting out of hand. When done in moderation, it can be a huge source of physical and emotional happiness, as well as a good thing for your mental health and sexual health. But it's important to know when it starts to replace real relationships or when it starts to hurt other parts of your life by keeping a mindful balance. Older people can enjoy self-pleasure without losing sight of the bigger emotional and social ties that make life better. Thank you for joining us on this deep and important conversation about self-pleasure in old age. Share your thoughts in the comments below on what you've learned so far and what you plan to do with what you've learned today. If you like this video, please leave a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insightful content like this. Your support helps us keep having these important conversations.